Hey guys, it's Laura here at Art Zone. We are going to walk through another project today. I hope you guys are having fun at home and doing lots of fun stuff. And for those that joined in on book series, thank you. If you took some clay home, we're going to talk about how to make the dog. You had options. We could use the ball of clay and turn it into a dog, or you could have pre-ordered a dog or dog item that was cut out like so, that will later be turned into a photo stick holder. Like this is Kathy's dog Sandra, and this one here is just a paw print. So you have those options. You can order them pre-made, and then we will send home the glaze, the paint, so that you can paint them at home. Just let us know if that's what you want. Everyone else, you have a ball of clay, and we need to talk about how to turn that ball of clay into your dog. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to get your ball of clay. If for some reason it's not in a ball, because maybe you've already been playing with it, go ahead and turn it back into a ball by just hitting it back and forth in the palms of your hands. Once you get it into that ball, and it doesn't have to be a perfect ball, then we're going to take it and we're going to twist and pull it into two pieces. Just like so. Now at this point you can decide to make a smaller dog and set half of your clay to the side and use it for another project if you would like to, or you can use the whole ball of clay and turn it into a dog. So I'm going to go ahead and use all of the clay for mine, but again, you don't have to do that at home. So I'm going to look at my two pieces of clay. I'm going to decide which one is bigger and which one is smaller. I'm going to set the bigger one down on the table, and I'm going to use the smaller one. And I'm going to turn it back into a ball. Once I get my ball shape by hitting it back and forth into the palms of my hands, I'm going to take my thumb. I'm going to twist and push, twist and push, twist and push, till I have my big thumb again. You might remember that from the frog video. It's the same thing. We are going to make that pinch pot. So we have our thumb in there, stick out those two fingers, and we're going to use those two fingers to pinch all the way around. And we're making a bowl or a pot, which is why they call it a pinch pot. So we're pinching it out, pinching it out, pinching it out, until we have that bowl. So you can see it's a bowl. Looks good. So from here you have a couple options that you need to think about and decide. You need to decide if you want it to sit like so. This is actually my mom's dog, Jack. I made it after her. This is actually my grandparents' dog first. But anyway, so I did not choose to make legs with Jack. I think that Jack is just sitting on her legs in this one. So anyway, so that's Jack sitting. Kathy made a laying down dog. So you need to decide if you want a laying down dog or a sitting dog. If you want a sitting dog, you're going to take your bowl and you're just going to place it on the table and tap it to where it will sit flat. And that's how you're going to get your sitting dog. If you want one like Kathy's that's laying down, you're going to take your bowl and you're going to start to make it more like a potato to where it's laying down. So you're going to make it longer. And then once you get it kind of in that shape, you'll tap it on the table to get it to sit right. All right, cool. So we've got the body for our dog. We can set that to the side. We're going to come back to it in a little bit. But now we are going to go ahead and make the head. So the next part is we're going to take some of that extra clay. We're just going to pinch off a decent size ball, and we're going to turn that back into a ball. And again, we're just making the head this time. The head I seem to be having a little bit of trouble with. It's throwing me for a loop, but we're gonna get it. So once you get your ball shape, what you're gonna start to do is just start to pinch down some of the bottom part, because we're actually gonna make a little bit of a neck down there. So we've got the ball shape with a little bit of a neck. So you can see where it kind of comes down into a point down there. And then the rest is the head. I like to go ahead and try to figure out where my eyes are going by going ahead and using my thumbs, and I will press into where I want my eyes to go to give it that eye socket kind of a deal. So we've got that. Now we're ready, because that does not look like a face, right? Like a dog, like a head. So we're gonna take a little bit more of our clay, and we're just gonna pinch off another little portion, and we're gonna turn it into like a muzzle or the snout of the dog. And you can really decide how big of a snout your dog has. As you can see, Jack's was a decent size, and then Kathy's was a little bit smaller. And then this guy that I made earlier, his is pretty long, so he's probably more of a dachshund type dog. So, but you can choose how big your snout is or muzzle. And then once you get it, this is where we're going to use our bamboo skewer. So in your packet, you should have got a skewer and a popsicle stick. This part, we're going to use the skewer because we're going to take our head and our muzzle, and we're going to attach them together. This is the trickiest part, and the part that you want to remember. At the studio, we call this scratch to attach. Others might know it by slip and score. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our skewer, and we're going to make a bunch of scratch marks. And then our muzzle, which is just like a cube, a piece of ice, rectangular, we're also going to scratch up. And we're going to add a little bit of water to both parts because the water acts like glue. And then we will press them together. Now, we need to go ahead and smooth them together. So this is the part where we're going to take away that line and really try to make these pieces become one with each other. So it's one piece of clay instead of two. And then you can see that you should have what looks like a duck. So from here, you can do a couple different things. So everything that I do from this point on, you can decide either to do it or not do it. You can create your own thing. That's completely up to you. I'm just going to give you some tips and tricks of things that I've done. But again, you can create it however you want to from this point. So I like to use my popsicle stick to use it kind of like a knife and slice it in there to give my dog a mouth. So now you can see my dog's got a little bit of a mouth. So now I'm going to set him down for just a minute, and I'm going to get a little bit more of my clay, just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of clay, and I'm going to turn it into a triangle, and that triangle is going to act like his nose. But again, we will have to scratch to attach it. So we're going to scratch it up and attach it on there. Scratch, scratch, add water, and attach. And then we're going to do some eyes by just taking another little piece of clay and attaching it on there. And we're going to do a tongue if you want a tongue. Again, you don't have to have a tongue. The eyes, again, you're going to scratch to attach. For time's sake, I'm not going to scratch to attach all of my pieces, just because, you know, I don't want this video to be super, super long. Again, if you need to stop and pause it so that you can catch up, that's completely fine. Go ahead and do that. So I've put in a couple eyes, my nose. So he's starting to look a little more like a dog, right? Now let's talk about ears. Ears, same thing. You're going to peel off a little bit more of your extra clay. And I like to just shape it in my hand. I'm gonna make one side a little more rounded, and then the other side's just gonna be kind of a straightish line. Now some dogs have floppy ears. That tends to be what I like to make. But as you know, some dogs have pointed ears, like probably your, German Shepherds. I think their ears are pointed. So it really just kind of depends on what kind of dog you want to make to know what kind of ears you're making. Now again, I would scratch to attach this. I'm going to scratch, add some water. For time's sake, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be a rule breaker, but I'm not going to actually fire my piece, so that's okay. My piece isn't going to go in the kiln. So we got an ear, and then we'll do another ear. And then once we get that other ear on there, then we are ready to attach our head. Again, if you wanted to make a tongue, you could make a tongue. That's all up to you and your creativity. You could even put little nostrils in your nose if you'd like to. That's all up to you. I also like to give my dog's eyes their little pupil. You can paint that on, you can add it on. I just gave them a little bit of holes there. So now we're ready to attach the dog's head to the body. You can choose where you put that, if the head's straight, if it's looking off to the side. You get to decide how you want that. I think I'm gonna have mine kind of looking at the side, looking at you guys. So again, I'm scratching to attach, adding that water, plugging it on there. And then we are to the point where we need to talk about legs. Now, if you remember back in the beginning, I showed you Jack. Jack did not have legs, right? So you could do that too. Legs tend to be tricky and break off. So just really make sure that you're scratching to attach so that they don't break off, okay? If they do, some of the stuff that breaks off we'll be able to fix here in the studio. And then sometimes we're not so lucky with that. But again, it's your choice if you want legs or not. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to make legs. You're gonna take some of your clay. Now I just pinched off another little pinch of clay, and I'm going to turn that into a snake by rolling it back and forth in my hands. I want it to be kind of a thicker snake, kind of like whenever we did the frog. And I'm going to take a portion of it and make it more like a thigh. So I want part of it to be a little bit thicker than the rest. And I'm going to give it that shape like it's a thigh. And this is going to be my back leg. And again, I would scratch to attach it on there. And then we have a leg. And I'm going to kind of blend it, take some of that line away. But as you can see, I've got a leg. Anytime that you get nick in it, like I just put in there, you can just use either your finger and kind of rub it away, or you can use a little bit of water, just a tiny, tiny bit of water, and it will help you smooth it out so you don't have all those marks in there and scratches and stuff. Unless you want them, then that's fine too. So now you got to make 4 more legs. So you're going to make 2 for the front and then another back leg. Again, remember that thigh for your back leg. For the front leg, you don't really have to do that as much. So go ahead and do those legs. And then we're going to skip forward and talk about a tail. So the tail is also just a snake. So we're pretending that I went ahead and did my legs. So the tail is another snake. It's going to be a little bit thinner than the legs. And I'm going to cut some of it off because I made mine a little too long. But, and again, the length, and if you have a short tail or a long tail, that's all your guys' choice. You can choose whichever there. And again, we're gonna scratch to attach it and put it on there. Again, for time's sake, I didn't do it, but you guys at home need to be sure you're scratching to attach, okay? Okay, so we've got our legs, we've got our tail, we've got a tongue, we've got ears, a nose. I added a bow on this one. This one here, you can see they have collars, like this one says Jack on it. And this one has a dog treat, a dog bone. So you guys can get creative and do any of that stuff that you want to with your dog. This is all your creation. Kathy just walked into the room and she's trying to distract me because she's like that. But what she was telling me was to remind you to scratch to attach. But how many times do we always say that? She don't even know. So be sure that anything you add to your dog, you scratch to attach it. Again, I didn't do it with all my pieces here, but that was just for time's sake. So be sure that you guys do it at home. Now you're ready to glaze. Glaze is like painting, but we call it glaze because there's little pieces of sand in it. And when little pieces of sand get hot, you guys at home know what it does? It turns into glass, that's right. So with glaze, you want to be sure you add a lot. So you want to go back and forth over your piece several times. Anytime you switch colors, be sure you rinse it out in the water and dry it on a towel, and then you can keep going into your next color. If you can still see the gray clay, you haven't used enough glaze, so go back and add more. One last trick. You cannot glaze the bottom. So don't glaze the inside of your pinch pot or this rim right here where it's going to sit on my kiln shelf. If you glaze those parts, then your piece is most likely going to blow up in the kiln. And we don't want that to happen. So be sure you don't glaze those parts. And if you would, take your skewer and write your initials or name on the inside there. That would be much appreciative. All right, I hope that you guys will post pictures of your creations on our Facebook page, tag ArtZone Nixa, because we want to see what you're doing at home. Thanks so much, guys, and have a wonderful day.